We'll now go forward with the CRA meeting scheduled for tonight, and we've already had an invocation and a pledge earlier, so I'm just going to go right to roll call. If you please call the roll of the CRA Board.
Here. 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 Here.
Yes.
Here. We have a quorum. Okay, we'll go to agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? I have two I would like to make, and here's my pen. I'd like to rearrange the agenda just a little bit. We have had a request under old business item B. I'd like to swap item A and B, do B first and then A under old business. We have a person here with one of those that would like to, has another meeting in Delray and needs to try to get, so I'd move that up if that's okay with the commission. Also, under new business item F was the discussion of the CRA board member behavior. I'd like to move that up to just under public comments. After public comments, I'd like to take that issue up and get it over with. Anything else on the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second. Most second. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Show the motion unanimous. Informational items and disclosures by board members of the CRA staff. I'll start with board member Woodrow Hay.
No disclosures. That's it.
Fitzpatrick?
No meetings discussing CRA matters.
Board member?
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Board member Merker?
Yes. I'd like to read something I wrote, and it's something that was very meaningful to me, and because of the incidents that we're going to be talking about, I'm not able to do it. But I find this a true meaning, a true representation of our history. So if you don't mind, we'll take a couple of minutes. What makes a man a man? He has a dream driven by his innermost thoughts and beliefs of what is good and what is bad for all. He awakens in the middle of the night to realize just that, it is a dream. He goes back to sleep, but cannot sleep, and then realizes that his dream is a job that must be started and must be completed for all. I had a dream is what we often have. However, very few of us will step out of that dream and make our innermost thoughts move forward to make it reality. The Right Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King did just that. He had a dream and he made it reality for all mankind. He realized that to change the course of time, one must educate and inform his fellow man. That's one mind and heart, having to be aware that living a life is a wonderful thing, but living a life with a purpose is a dream that can and will and must come true. That man, Dr. Martin Luther King, his life was taken on April 4th, 1968. And from that day and forevermore, we will all look back and reflect with a saddened heart and with an open mind that we are one. That all people living together as one will help improve and accomplish all that God has given us. A heart, a mind, and a soul that we have gives a purpose that life is truly, truly a wonderful dream. Dr. Martin Luther King is a part of American history. American History 101 is just that, a dream where all mankind wanting to and working together to make that dream come true for all. I won't go on with the rest of it because I was asked to do this talk and it becomes personalized because I was given or taken away now that honor to speak about this man. What I recommend and I think many of you know that my passion is American history. There's a book out right now called Death of a King. It's the last year of Martin Luther King's life. It hit me. I'm sure it will hit you. And with Martin Luther King Day coming, I wanted to give you a part of what I was going to say, and I hope it touched you in a very positive way on where America is coming today. Thank you.
Board Member McRae.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm good.
Board Member Buchanan.
Yes, I had a discussion with Jim Williams, who's the architect on the Ocean Breeze East project. And actually, as a result, that's one reason I asked for it to be put on the agenda tonight.
Okay. Staff, you have anything you want?
No, thank you, Mayor.
I have nothing to add.
Board member,
Yes.
Chair, I do want to mention one thing that I don't want to overlook. We did complete, at least Mike Kammer and his crew, the Boynton Beach Ocean Breeze West, all 21 homes. We had a ceremony, a ribbon cutting, and I think that was outstanding. They came on time and under budget. So it's a major project that's been accomplished in this community, and I don't want that to go overlooked.
I'd like to make a correction. I realize now, looking out in the audience, that I had a brief, probably 10-minute discussion with Bart Garnsey about the parking, marina parking, one of my neighbors.
Okay. Okay. Moving on, we'll go to announcement and awards. Movies in the park and happy hour. Anybody wants to address that? Those?
We have a concert this Thursday night. Please come out. We have a great band called String Theory starting at 6 o'clock. There will be beverages for purchase and food for purchase. That is at the amphitheater. And the next movie, we just had a movie. That was last week. That was a great movie. I had already seen it, so I didn't go. Don't tell Amy. The next movie will be next month, and I don't know what it is because she doesn't get to, she doesn't tell until she gets to pick the latest movies. But we will be having our concerts starting on Friday. I believe this month we're starting Friday. Does anybody know? I think it starts Friday this month. I'm sorry. It's Friday this month, starting Friday. Forgive me, because we got a request to start on Fridays. We were doing it Thursday, so it is actually starting Friday. So come out Friday at the amphitheater for happy hour in the park. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. We did approve the agenda, so the consent agenda was
Chair.
approved. Unless somebody has something on that, go ahead.
If I just may, on an oversight, on page 9 of this 519 page, Mr. Mike Fitzpatrick's name was left off. He was president at that meeting. On the
Okay.
minutes.
Thank you. Okay, that'll take us to item 10, informational only. Anybody have any questions on the informational items? A, public comment log. B, summary of CR property evaluation by category. C, business development advertising campaign. Hearing none, we'll go to public comments. Anybody in the public wish to address this board? Items not on the agenda may do so at this time. We ask you to give your name and address for the record and try to make your comment in a 3-minute time period. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Julie Oldberry, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management for the City of Boynton Beach. Good evening, Board Chair and CRA Board members. The City of Boynton Beach is participating in the 3rd annual Let's Move, Commit to Change Physical Activity Challenge. This is based on First Lady Michelle Obama's initiative to raise a healthier generation of children. Last year in Palm Beach County, the City of Boynton Beach logged over 100,000 minutes, and we were named Team Champion. So I'm here to urge each of you and the members of our community to help us reclaim this title by participating in this campaign, which runs from January 10th to January 31st. It's so easy to participate. Just complete 30 minutes of sustained physical activity and log your minutes for Team Boynton Beach at the following website: cbs12.com/let's move. I have flyers with the information that I've left at the back table, so please pick those up and so that you'll have all the information. And in advance, to thank you for your commitment, I have T-shirts, Let's Move Boynton T-shirts for each of the board members. Thank you.
Just leave them on the end there. We'll get them at the
Mr.
end.
Mayor, can I just add a little bit to that?
Certainly.
I'm a physical fitness type guy, and this past New Year's, I said the New Year's resolution. Don't make me laugh, please. And so I started to my New Year's resolution and moving Boynton forward with the paramedics and firefighters of Station 3 over there on Minor Road, and for our daily little power walk jog, if you will. And my first day out with these paramedics and such, I took a header, and I'm now suffering from a badly bruised shoulder and 2 broken ribs, so don't make me laugh.
Chair,
Moving forward.
I'll pass on the T-shirt.
Chair, just a comment, if I may.
Yes.
Just wanted to say that for the past several years that we've been doing this particular Move Boynton, Boynton has been, we won every year. Now Channel 12, among other cities, are beginning to trash talk, okay, in terms of they are going to beat Boynton beat. Team Boynton is the team to beat. So I just want to encourage all of us who will participate in this so that we can do the trash talking. Okay, but it's a good program, but they do have an advantage. They have TV, but we have an advantage because we have more participants, and that's you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm
Good
Steve
evening.
Antone, 234 Southeast 2nd Avenue, Boynton Beach, and I have a public service announcement. Did anybody leave a thumb drive up here? There's a thumb drive somebody's left up here. I've approached this before. I just want to tickle the memories of the board and you folks, because you're more important than they are, believe it or not. You should be higher up than them. But the most important thing is right now, I was at the VA, there was a magazine, and it is a National Geographic Traveler magazine. And it lists tons. Did you know National Geographic has several of their own cruise ships that take eco tours all over the world that you can sign up for and pay up to $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 to go where they go? What I'm saying is we have got a huge opportunity that we kind of just have not looked at because we've been distracted by other things. But if National Geographic can take you to Antarctica, hey, we got a lot of stuff right here in Boynton that people don't remember. We've got the Everglades to the ocean. That is a huge, huge money pit that Boynton is leaving on the table. Please take advantage of it. We have ways to do this, whether it's taking old retired park rangers. I used to be one. I'm not retired, but there are biologists that are retired that we could bring in and start a whole educational system tour, both eco, agricultural, tourism, low impact, but very, very fun. I'm just saying, I would really like the city, the CRA, and you guys to think about this, because trust me, we have things that people would like to see. They don't need to go to Antarctica to see it, and they don't need to pay $10,000 to go see that. And it's just an idea that I would really appreciate if the city, whoever, can look at, start delving into. There's also educational tourism. It is huge. Educational tourism are all these baby boomer retirees that are either professors or people who just want to learn that will go around and spend a lot of money to go learn. And we're an epicenter with FAU, Scripps, all these universities right in our backyard, Nova Southeast. We could use environmental tourism and educational tourism as a huge draw to Boynton Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address commission items not on the agenda?
Thank you. My name's Dr. Barry. I live on First Street, Southeast First Street, and I walk there every day for about 3 hours. Now, that's not much of a life, but I have to do it to get in shape and all that. But what's happening on First Street is people are starting to cut down First Street from Seacrest. It's a shortcut, and they come flying down there, and there's a sign there that's laughable. It says 25 miles per hour.
There is no one who goes on First Street goes 25 miles an hour. I mean, 50, 60, you can, you know. Now, I take my chances walking. I walk on the berm of the road. Now, I don't mind, I'm taking the chance of getting hit at 25 miles an hour. Not at 50, not at 60, and so on. So I have a proposal that the commission and the mayor put in a speed bump or a couple speed bumps to slow down the cars. More stop signs not going to do it because they go through the stop signs and so on. Now, I was just coming here tonight, and it was getting dark, and there's kids walking on the street, right in the middle of the street. They didn't care that you had to go around them. There are kids on bicycles, no lights, no reflectors. Every night, I'm scared to death driving on First Street because of these kids. Now, I don't know if the police is going to arrest somebody someday. I have never seen an arrest on First Street for speeding or improper bicycles or whatever they're doing, so on. So my proposal is that you could put 3 speed bumps on Southeast First Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on that? Okay. Bye-bye.
Anyone else wish to address the commission on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will close the public comments. Go to the first item, which was moved up, discussion of a CRA board member behavior. The way I'm going to conduct this is I'm going to make my opening comments on this, and then when I finish, I will see if anybody sees this an agenda item, any public wish to address it, they may do that. When the public is finished, I'm going to come to the board for their comments and action. So, the following 2 emails were given to me concerning the claim of improper behavior by board member David Merker. Having this knowledge, I believe it is the responsibility of the CRA Board to take appropriate action to address the situation. I will now read the emails into the record. First email, Dear Commissioner Merker, I want to discuss something that happened at our regularly scheduled meeting on December 23rd. At our meeting, you commented on my appearance several times. Then as you were walking out the door, you grabbed my posterior. I commented that you were being handsy today. Although I have attempted to explain on many occasions that as an elected official, you have a certain code of conduct expected of you, you continue to exhibit inappropriate behavior towards women. I am your employee and should not be subjected to being touched or spoken about inappropriately. I do not desire it, nor will I tolerate it. I had to think long and hard about writing this email, as it could negatively impact my career. It's usually the victim that becomes the casualty in this situation. But I have a daughter, and I could not live with myself if I did not stand up for what is right. I am here to help you guide the city in the most professional manner possible. I have many years of experience and educational training to offer you. Please do not jeopardize the professional relationship with continued inappropriate behavior. Thank you, Vivian Brooks, Executive Director. And she also forwarded that to the CRA attorney. The second one I need to give you into the record I want to read. Oops, wrong one here. Get it here in a minute. Dear Chair, Vice Chair, and board members, as you now know, an incident occurred between Commissioner Board Member Merker and myself. It involved his inappropriately touching me. Rather than rely solely on excerpts of my email to Commissioner Merker published in the media or Commissioner Merker's comments to the press, I have attached my email and an agreement drafted by the CRA's attorney. The agreement would have put this issue to rest, for me at least, if Commissioner Merker had agreed to sign it. He initially agreed to do so, then decided not to. My desire was not... Sorry. I'm in trouble with this. My desire was not to have this become a public spectacle for the city and the CRA, and quite frankly for myself. However, Commissioner Merker's behavior has crossed a serious line for me. Constant discussion with him have done nothing to change the behavior. A person should not have to... I'm sorry, ran it off here. Persons should not have to work in an environment where they are subjected to constant inappropriate talk or the potential of unwanted physical touching that Commissioner Merker thinks is so charming and funny. It is neither. Although it is one person's word against another's, please be aware that the day the Palm Beach Post broke the story, a vendor for the CRA called and said she had the same issue with Commissioner Merker. She said she would be willing to speak on the record if need be. Please feel free to call me regarding this matter. As stated in the email, this type of behavior on the part of Board Member Merker is not a one-time occurrence. I quote Executive Director Vivian Brooks, quote, "Although I have attempted to explain on many occasions that as an elected official you have a certain code of conduct as expected of you, you continue to exhibit inappropriate behavior towards women. Other female employees and women in our community have complained to me about Board Member Merker's inappropriate actions and or statements. Up until now, I have been unable to act on those complaints because these individuals were afraid to go public, fearing a backlash to their employment or career opportunity. However, if an external investigation was undertaken, they would speak out." On another occasion in a city office staffed by several female employees, Commissioner Merker loudly shouted his displeasure with the situation while using the F word over and over until asked by one of the women to please refrain from that language. Mr. Merker in the newspaper denied that anyone has ever spoken to him about inappropriate behavior. I personally, on several occasions, reminded Mr. Merker that as an elected official he needed to think about his conversation with women. His reply was, quote, "I got to be me," unquote. I can also state that several other people at the city supervisory level have counseled Mr. Merker about his actions and statements. Considering this information, I have no reason to doubt the veracity of Executive Director's email. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same about Mr. Merker's denials. I believe Mr. Merker has established a pattern of this type of unacceptable behavior. His actions have embarrassed the CRA Board and the city. Therefore, I'm asking Mr. Merker to immediately resign his elected office. If he refuses to do so, I recommend the CRA Board take the following actions. First, request the CRA attorney to contact the proper outside authority to conduct an investigation of these complaints. Second, request the CRA Board to censure Mr. Merker this evening as an expression of disapproval towards this type of behavior with two conditions. A, that during the investigation, his supervisory authority of the Executive Director, Vivian Brooks, be terminated. B, that any one-on-one meeting between Mr. Merker and a CRA employee be conducted with a third party present. That's my comments on the record. Now, if anybody in the public wishes to address this issue, let me do so at this time.
Hi, Steve Anton, 234 Southeast 2nd Avenue. I just have a couple of things I want to say. One, have we contacted anybody in Hollywood we should be having this as a reality program? Because this seems to be a pattern with our CRA and the board. But more than that, I have a question that's more serious. Vivian has a right to her complaints. That is absolute. There is also a process that should have followed. There is a human resource manual. There's a whole outline of how this should have been handled. Apparently that doesn't apply to this board, or does it? That is my question. If there is a pattern, it should have been addressed through the process with the HR department. Investigation followed the rules. That's why they're there. That this is being aired in the press and up here before, that is brought before Human Resources, to me is a bigger embarrassment. That we set a precedent, we set rules, that we don't follow those rules, regardless of the outcome. The rules were there for both sides, for protection and to make this city look professional. I am extremely upset at the unprofessionalism encountered by Vivian Brooks, whoever, that the process was not followed, that recommendations are coming back and forth from people that it shouldn't be coming from. Thank you.
David Katz, 67 Midwood Lane, former city commissioner, now a 33-year resident of the city, our fair city. Mr. Mr. Merker spoke of speaking of a dream. Well, it's my opinion that he's created a nightmare for this city. He's an embarrassment to this honorable board. He's an embarrassment to the honorable commission. He's an embarrassment to this city. He's an embarrassment to the community of Hunters Run. Many of the comments that the mayor made, I made similar comments many months ago and brought this up. And I'm sure that an independent investigation will bring forward those people, those ladies, who have had the encounters with Mr. Merker and his inappropriate behavior. And I agree with the independent investigation, and I surely agree that Mr. Merker should resign post-haste. Thank you.
Seeing no one else wish to comment on this, I'll return to the board for their comments. And somebody want to jump in?
Well, the procedure, as I understand it, is that the H&R department has no, the city's H&R department has no say in this investigation. Is that a fact?
Well,
Investigative powers.
with regard to the email that Ms. Brooks sent, when I first talked to her, she indicated to me that it was, and correct me if your recollection is different, particularly when I'm talking about what you told me, that it was not her intention to file a formal complaint requiring it to go through a formal investigation, that it was really intended as a message to Board Member Merker. But as the comment was made, it did become more public than she had intended, and it snowballed. Generally, the contract with HR is for HR to provide support services for the CRA, but not necessarily these types of investigative purposes, because the CRA is a different entity, has its own HR manual.
So as a different entity, how would the CRA board initiate an investigation, a thorough investigation? What's our next step to investigate this allegation?
The next step would be what Mayor Taylor indicated, would be to direct the attorney to hire an appropriate professional to conduct an investigation. There are always issues, and Board Member Casella and I spoke a bit about this today, issues regarding the proper expenditure of CRA funds. I do think that there would be the opportunity, if what the board is looking to do, because the CRA board has no authority or power under the law to take any kind of action with regard to Board Member Merker, should you determine there was wrongdoing, of the type of removing him from office or anything like that. What you could do is determine whether or not there are protocols that should be put into place, should there be a finding of inappropriate conduct, to guard against such inappropriate conduct in the future. With regard to the CRA board, if such an investigation were to disclose the type of conduct that would call for removal from office under the city charter, and I can't speak to that because I've not reviewed the city charter, and that's not my area of responsibility. You would be sitting as a city commission to make those kinds of determinations, and you would need the advice from the city attorney. But if that were the case, again, the CRA board would not be able to take those types of actions. If you go that approach and direct me to do so, my recommendation would be to direct me to do so, to identify the appropriate person to conduct the investigation. And I would, since I've not had the time at this point, I would do further research to confirm that it would be a proper expenditure of CRA funds and move forward. If I felt for any reason it wasn't, I would bring it back to you.
Oh, and this is some of the problem, as we talked earlier. We, as a board, we employ the CRA, from the director down. Those are our employees. One of our employees had brought a sexual allegation of impropriety against one of the board members. Now, from what I'm hearing is that know if we can expend the money to have that type of investigation, to investigate that allegation. That's basically some of it.
There is at least a question that I want to confirm that you do. As I said, since I do believe the CRA Board has the authority to put into place procedures and protocols based on the outcome of such an investigation, and if that's what you want to be looking at doing, I think that we are on good footing to expend the funds to do that. I want the board to understand you can't take any formal action to remove Mr. Merker from office.
A couple of years back, the CRA had issues, and it's one of the reasons why I ran for office. And like this gentleman over here, I was sickened by that. And here we are 2-3 years later talking about, well, maybe we should put a protocol or procedures in place to address these kind of things. These should be in place. If somebody comes to this board, either city commission or the CRA board, and has been sexually assaulted or alleges sexually assaulted, we should have that protocol and thing. An investigation should start immediately. We shouldn't be up here talking, well, what can we do, what we can't do. We should know exactly what we can do and what we can't do. And after the rest of the board members here, I think there's going to be a few motions made that we're going to allow this investigation to go forward, and however we have to fund it, we're going to fund it to get to the bottom of this.
Understand, I'm not talking about general protocols. You have general protocols. I'm talking about if it is based on the investigation, your determination there should be specific special protocols with regard to Mr. Merker and his contact with staff.
Well, I would
Which
hope,
ordinarily you would not.
I would hope that these allegations are proven to be true. I would hope that the man who involved would have the decency to resign on his own. That's what I would hope.
Board Member Hay?
I agree with what's been said. We spend a lot of money as a city branding our city, and it goes without saying that I'm highly disappointed. And we've been here before, and I don't want to go down that road again. We're trying to encourage developers to come to our city, and all they need to do is go on the web and look us up, and the rest is history. If this is true, and I agree with the investigation, then it should be punished to the extent of the law. I'm in favor of the investigation so that we make sure that we given him his rights as an individual. But I want to make sure that you said, Attorney, that you would, if we decide to go ahead, that you would want an appropriate attorney. Does that mean an outside attorney other than your office?
Yes.
Thank you.
Board Member Fitzpatrick?
First of all, I'd just like to clarify the relationship between HR and the CRA. My understanding is like an a la carte relationship to have the most efficiency, like they run help pay payroll instead of the CRA having to hire their own payroll person. But when it comes to other things, they're not, we don't use the full city HR book. For instance, on hiring, we don't run hiring through the CRA. The CRA director does her own hiring. So there's a whole lot of stuff. It's very specific and limited, the relationship between the CRA and Boynton Beach HR. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The second thing is, or other things is, first of all, I commend Vivian Brooks for having the courage to step forward. I understand it's a difficult thing. And based on my observation of Mr. Merker, with other staff, I noticed women staffers do not like to be left alone in the room with him. And then at multiple events, he monopolizes staff while they're trying to do the events, like run Pirates Fest or run the boat parade. He gets, tries to strike up a conversation when they're trying to do their job and this sort of thing. So I definitely believe he has the Mel Brooks' attitude, it's good to be king. But it's not, and so I find Vivian credible, but it's not, allegations are not proof. And as we're pointing out, we are moving into unknown waters here, so I believe it is prudent to go forward, but in a safe manner so that it doesn't come back to actually take more time, more money, because we missed some steps. So I am in favor of an investigation. If more people step forward, we'll move forward. If nobody steps forward, then Vivian's incident becomes just one brick in a possible future wall. But to me, it's on its own. A memo is not an actionable item. I would agree with an investigation, but nothing after that until we see what comes from the investigation.
Commissioner McCray.
Thank you,
Board member.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Antone, I applaud you, sir, for standing up here saying what you said, sir. We just got the Lisa Bright case resolved. Okay. A man is innocent until proven guilty. That's the crust of the law. I'm not in favor of an investigation. First of all, we have adults that's sitting up here. First of all, we need to realize why the CRA was created. It was created for blighted areas here within our city. District 2 is one of the most blighted areas in this city where the money should be spent. And to say that you were going to spend money for an investigation when two adults said that they are willing to let things go. Why don't you all step to the plate and be humans and say, let's resolve this now as adults, do what we have to do, and leave it alone. I'm just saying, why make something more of an issue when it's not an issue? Sure, Commissioner Merkel might have his faults, but you know what? If you check your own closets, we all got skeletons. Sometimes we need to just be human. We get up here before meetings and we say prayers and say we want to be directed, led, and guided. And then we turn right back around after the prayer and ridicule an individual like tar and feather them. I'm not in favor of an investigation. We're already wasting too much money here in this city. Let's put the money where the money is supposed to go and stop running behind he say, she say stuff. Mrs. Brooks said that she's willing to sign. Mr. Merkel is probably willing to sign now. I'm just saying, let's act like an adult. Step to the plate. Do what's right and stop making Boynton be a ridicule city. I'm tired of individuals coming to me and saying, here you guys go again. Okay, here you guys go again. Let's start showing that we can do positive things as a board and stop, talking about somebody should be removed. We have no power to remove no elected official. That lies within the governor. The Governor Scott will have to be the one that will remove Commissioner Merkel. We do not have that power, and let's stop trying to fool ourselves that we do have that power. If he comes down and says that he will be removed from office, then let's remove him then. Other than that, I'm just saying that this is a mute thing. We need to spend the money where it's supposed to go. Put it on MLK Boulevard. Let's do the right thing for this city and move the city forward and stop being on a witch hunt for individuals who sit up here on this board. Thank you.
Board Member Buchanan.
Well, if the matter is resolved by mutual consent, which I understand that was a failure, that's one thing. But since we hadn't gone down that path, I do think we have to have an investigation for the protection of everybody involved. My only question is to the attorney. Would this not be more logical? Commissioner Merker is Board Member Merker is Board Member Merker because he's Commissioner Merker. Would it not be more appropriate for the City Commission to be, in fact, the one who drives the investigation?
Well, the term appropriate is one that I'm not quite, it depends on your point of view. I mean, obviously the city has greater resources, has the ability to do a broader investigation, and perhaps, and again, I haven't reviewed the charter or the personnel policies with regard to the employer, the board, the commission, perhaps the ability to take action that the CRA board cannot take. It was an action. The complaint here is one that it comes from a CRA employee, but there are allegations that go beyond CRA employees. So, I mean, the city commissioners are sitting here, and they can certainly make a determination where they feel that it's more appropriate.
Okay, so basically, if we proceeded with an investigation and the investigation showed some impropriety, then...
Sorry, if it showed what?
It showed some impropriety.
Okay.
Then basically the most we could do then is send that over to the city commission. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, as I said, I think you could put into place maybe some specific protocols with regard to the particular board member, and if it goes beyond that and you feel that there is further action that should be taken, then yes, you would send it over to the city commission.
Okay.
Board Member Merker.
Well, doesn't look good for me, does it? But I will say emphatically, indubitably, and definitely, this did not happen. I tried when I was interviewed to show that the relationship that Vivian Brooks and I had was professional. And let me go into details. Number one, not only Vivian Brooks, but Lori Lavari and the other heads, male and female, I pretty much meet every week. Ask me why. To me, it's logical. There I was elected in March of 2012, new position. So I would meet for, to me, an obvious reason, to learn. What happens is, when you're a leader, or supposedly a leader, or let alone if you ever owned a business, is that you want to know who's working for you. You want to know their strong points. You want to know their weak points. You also want to encourage them. Now, I'm a little taken back by the second letter that Vivian Brooks wrote, but that's her prerogative. So I met with everybody, and I keep meeting with everybody. And it's been a learning curve. In the finance department, you name it, whatever, I'm not going to ramble on that. So, I was taken back very much that this was brought before. Another reason why. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to lower myself like some other people are doing. But I learned things about Vivian Brooks, about her life, her family. And she learned things about me. Nothing of something that's there to hurt or burn anybody. She's made statements, and what happened is some of the statements she made were questionable statements too, to me. But because of the position I'm in, and because of the definition of being a leader and in a position like this, you learn about someone, you learn their strengths and weaknesses as they learn yours. The idea that the board members here are psychologists surprises me. Vice Mayor Casello came off like a psychologist. Hey, by the way, why'd you get divorced? You know what I mean? So the point I'm getting at is there's reasons, okay, that people get divorced, things happen. In my situation, it's beyond that.
How come you haven't been married?
Well, that's easy too.
Let's not have any back and forth.
It didn't happen. Am I sorry? And now that gentleman, I'll use the word loosely, spoke up, I'll get into another subject matter which is interesting. Mayor Taylor and David Katz having Christmas dinner together, playing golf together. This is known. The point is, and I'll be very factual, people have asked, and I've said, I'm not going to deny it, is David Merker considering running for mayor? I'll tell you a story about that gentleman over there. See, I gave him courtesy. I even had a breakfast with him to say I'm considering it. That's it. But from that point on, there's a venom, there's a hate. Did you ever meet pure scum? Meet him. Because he hates. He hates, he hates. I'm not anymore. Thank you. The point I'm saying, it's a team effort right now. And it hurts because as I said earlier in the other meeting, in most issues, even Mayor Taylor and I, especially with development, we've been on the same page. But egos are strange things. Mayor Taylor's been mayor 5 times. You know, it's like, I use this reference, Louis XIV, he was king of France for 40 years. 20 of them he was defined as a benevolent dictator. The next 20, he was a dictator. Maybe your time is up. 80 years old, maybe your time is up. But emphatically, I did not do this. And it's getting ugly. And my relationships, let's go back to Vivian, that's more important. I meet with Vivian every week, as I said, to learn. When I was interviewed both by the newspapers and by the TV, I plan to go forward. In fact, I just asked her a question before. Why? Because I want her viewpoint. I don't understand the psychological manifestations of what went through her mind on why this. I have been, check the records, check the minutes, her biggest ally. From her salary to her ability in work, to sitting down with her and listening to her explain her thoughts. I was taken back. Now I'm told, also by everybody here, since they know me so long, by the way, I'm living in Florida 4 years and 4 months, that they know what I'm like on a date. I don't know how they do. As far as my humor, I'm looking at the CRA board right there. Okay? I'll walk out of the room, ask them, have I ever been disrespectful? Have I not been supportive of them? And I'm just taking this group right here since it's a CRA meeting. Now, of course, they're not going to say anything because it's their job. It's their paycheck. Each one of them. I'm going to pick on Mike for a second because he's the guy. I learned something that in my humor, and it's humor, and I don't know about you other gentlemen here, that when you see a pretty lady or you see someone in which you like the way they're dressed, is there anything wrong to say, hey, that's a pretty outfit? I was told with Mr. Simon that I did something and it was humor, and I'll show you my humor and you may find it wrong. I used to say to him, I met his wife and she's very pretty. I saw a picture of his sister and she's very pretty. And I commented several times. I also sat down with the child and help educate them because of his interest in history. So it hurts. It hurts. Not everyone's humor is the same, but never, 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 never have I been disrespectful to women. Initially, when Vivian and Ken Spelius and his assistant Tara and I met, I'll tell you what happened. They wanted to write a written agreement saying that I would sit in with a third party and a couple of other points, which you can say, it's in the letter. And initially, yeah, I did say I would do it, but then I thought back and I said, I'm not guilty. I didn't do anything. My relationship with Vivian Brooks is in black and white. It's on the tape. It's on everything on how I supported her. What psychological manifestations she's going through with me, I'm not the psychologist or the psychiatrist like everybody else is trying to be. So I look at the citizens. Oh, I'll bring up one more point. I look at the citizens and I say, I am not guilty. Now there's another factor. Excuse me. I brought up the factor, and I've been asked, and I said, no ifs, ands, or buts. I have said, and when people ask me, are you considering running for mayor? I said, sure, I would consider it. I'm sure Woodrow Hay, who was acting mayor, not elected mayor, would like very much to too. How do I know? Because he told me. So the point is, what someone does or wants to do is two different things. The relationship that Mayor Taylor has with David Katz, and if you do any research on him, where he calls the TV stations and the newspapers to try to create a story that's not real. I used a word, and I've used it before, and I'm using it again. Just like someone said that the employees, their job is important to them, and obviously because I have this so-called title, in which some people need to be called commissioner, where I like my name David because it means the beloved one in the Bible. So I'll accept that over commissioner. Katz and Taylor have a bonding relationship. To what degree it is, I don't know. And that's why I'm in the position I'm in. Initially, the letter went to myself, went to the attorney, went to Mayor Taylor. But all of a sudden, guess what? Everybody knew. So the idea, and obviously I didn't declare it, will I consider it? Am I considering it? Of course I am. So is everyone else here. Just like Vice Mayor Casello is considering running for county commissioner. How do we know? Because where he plays golf, the word got out. And I respect him for that, if he wants to. Okay? So I have to summarize everything up because people are saying, hey, David, you're talking too much. I did not touch Vivian Brooks. Where this will go, I do not know. That's up, I guess, to everybody else. I'm told they're not going to kick me off the CRA board or the commission unless I'm proven guilty. I'm a little surprised at the second letter. I guess it's called insecurity and being defensive because they're afraid that it will go forward. As far as I'm concerned, Vivian Brooks is that good at what she does. I backed her financially, I backed her professionally, and I am not changing. I have no reason to change. It hurts. It hurts. I know I met her, I met her husband, I met her mother, I met her sister. All professional people. And as I look at you specifically now, I'm sorry this is happening. I'm looking at you, and obviously it's your wife. And of course, she must accept her word. I did not touch her. That's for you to decide if I'm full of it or not full of it, if I'm fabricating or whatever other adjectives or adverbs you want to use. I never touched your wife. I respect your wife because of her professionalism, and I backed her in every way. So in summation, what this board decides to do is their prerogative. I can't stop them. The most important, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were right in front of me, Mr. Brooks. I didn't do it. Okay? And what goes on from here, I can look in the mirror, I can go to sleep at night, and sleep well. And I will move forward with the CRA, with the City Commission. And when you see Mr. Taylor and Mr. Katz team up, you realize it's not for the good of the city, it's for the good of the ego. It's Old Man River wanting to stay afloat forever. And that's what destroys government. Someone thinking they should be there forever.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment here in a motion. My comment is Board Member Merker's discourse and viewpoint clearly demonstrate the need for an investigation. And I would, we have a situation where we have to find out what the facts are. So my motion is this. I make the motion this board direct Attorney Spilius to proceed with an investigation pending his determination that is proper use of CRA funds to do so.
Is there a second?
I second that
Discussion.
I'd just like to say I'm not going to respond to any personal attacks by Mr. Merker, but if he thinks that this is all predicated on the mayor's friendships with whoever, is fantasy land. Now, he says he supported Vivian Brooks through financially and reviews and all. If that's true, then he's sitting up here calling Vivian Brooks a liar. This has never happened. He's calling her a liar. I don't believe that for 1 second. We have a board member up here that I'm appalled, as a father and as a husband, to say, well, just let's be bygones. Just let's go. Let's bury our heads in the sand and just let's move on with the development of MLK Boulevard. I think that is, I'm appalled by that remark by one of our own sitting commissioners up here. I'm surprised by it, and I'm shocked by it. And I think as anybody who has a daughter or a wife should take this to heart. This is serious stuff. This is not something we bury our heads in the sand with. This has happened. This city has been through so much, and it's come so far. And we can't let people, individuals, sidetrack what our mission here is in Boynton Beach. And I, for one, would back that motion with a second and move an investigation forward.
I just also want to add that while Commissioner Merker got off all over the place, what's here about us tonight is about unacceptable behavior of a board member against an employee. I believe that responsibility of this board is to make sure that our employees have a professional work environment. And while we are discussing about one employee who had the courage to put it in writing and come forward, as I stated, there are many other females, employees, and women in the community who have made similar accusations. So that I feel that I'm glad that there's a motion to go ahead and investigate this so he feels like he wasn't railroaded some way, even though he's calling the other person a liar. That I think this board should also, whatever action we take, should ask that forward this on to the City Commission for any further action that the City Commission thinks is desirable. So we do have a motion, a second, for an investigation.
Discussion?
Discussion.
I'm in favor of an investigation. I would like some better parameters from the city attorney about how this might go forward.
Actually, that's the question I was going to ask in terms of the breadth of the authority. Are you? Is the motion intended to give me the authority to go ahead and hire someone, subject to my bringing a contract back to you to approve? I would assume. Do you also want me to bring back to you for further approval, or will you rely on my discretion, if you will, to identify the appropriate person?
That was my intent in the motion, was to for you to hire the appropriate person, pending, of course, approval by the board. But
I'm not finished. I'm unclear. I'm ignorant. What would this kind of investigation? What would be the procedures? How would it possibly take place? Would there be depositions, or how does something like this play out?
I see what you're saying. Generally, with an employment investigation like this, I would look for, and I already have someone in mind, an employment attorney who has conducted these types of investigations in the past. They generally just sit down and interview. It's not a police agency or anything like that. No subpoenas. No one has to talk to the individual, but they sit down and they talk to all of the individuals who they feel they need to talk to get the information. They do, once they've gotten all the information, make some judgments in terms of credibility, and then prepare a report to you with their findings.
So if somebody, they could prepare a list of people they think might have pertinent information, and they go to them and say, hey, we'd like to talk to you, and that person has an option of saying, no, I don't feel like going on record.
That's correct.
Okay.
Chair, just one comment. I do feel that to some degree this board has been somewhat negligent in having a procedure in place to handle this type of activity. So from a positive standpoint, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to get these procedures in place so that we can stop having these in the future, that we can deal with them appropriately and quickly and move it on out of the way. Hopefully, we won't have this again, but just as sure as we are human beings, some elected officials, some appointed officials are going to get up here that we don't know their behavior, and that's to be expected. But we do need to have these procedures in place so that we can deal with them appropriately and in a timely basis.
Board Member McRae.
Thank you, sir. Just for the record, Vice Chair Costello said that he was appalled by me sitting up here saying what I said about Martin Luther King Boulevard. Well, sir, you can stay appalled all you want to. I represent District 2. Seems like District 2 has been forgotten. I represent District 2. Now, the reason I'm saying what I'm saying is that District 2 was, the CRA was established for blighted areas, and it has been blighted, sir. I don't know when you moved to Boynton, but I have been here for like 61 years. Vice Chair, we're going to go back to what you said before, probably. I think you probably have forgotten, but you was one of those that was willing to bring and get the city to take over the CRA. I'm just saying, you know, when you start pointing fingers, I'm just saying I represent District 2. You might not like my tactics. I continue to represent District 2. I was elected to represent District 2, and what I said about MLK Boulevard, I wanted to stay on the record. It is blighted. We had businesses there before you even probably got here. We had bars. We had restaurants. We had hairdressers there. We had barbershops there. And I'm just saying, you know, I represent District 2. For those of you that clap, I'm just saying, yeah, it is a blighted area. People probably said it is drug-ridden. Yes, it might be drug-ridden, but guess what? Afro-Americans are not the only somebody that come on MLK Boulevard and buy drugs, okay? That's all I need to say for the record. Thank you.
And for the record, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, this is not about blight or MLK. I was appalled by saying that we can save the money and use it in other areas. That's what I'm appalled by. And if we had followed my suggestion that we combine the CRA and the city, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion today because there'd be protocols with the HR already in place to deal with this kind of situation, just for the record.
Fitzpatrick.
I would like to offer a friendly amendment to the motion, and the city attorney or board attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that if this guy is the professional on, you're getting somebody who knows about this stuff, that we should also in the report should be a list of recommended policy procedures for the future.
We can certainly ask for that as well, yes.
Yeah.
The motioner agree with that?
Yes.
And the second agree with that?
Yes, second.
I'd like second step. The word liar is used. I hope you don't mind me picking on you because you are the husband, okay? I never called your wife a liar. Why she did what she did, I don't know. I'm looking at you and I'm saying I didn't do it again, okay? The idea that
Please
there's
do not address my husband from the dais. Thank you.
Why? It's respect.
No, it's not respect.
personal.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
Okay, I have...
well, I'm not finished.
well, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. Then I'll look at to the right. Let me first say this. City of Boynton Beach, I'm sorry this is going forward. City of Boynton Beach, I'm saying it again. I did not do it. It seems like it's going to get ugly. Obviously, I'll have an attorney also. And I did not expect this to happen by the meeting that I had with Ken Spilius, Vivian Brooks, and Tara. I'm sorry, I don't know her last name. Okay? Because the consensus was we were going to go forward and let it pass. So I guess it's going to get ugly. And I'm sorry, citizens of Boynton Beach. You'll make your preliminary decisions whether or not I am or am not guilty. But the end results, I'm sure you'll see I'm not guilty. And thank you for listening to me.
I have a motion and a second, as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Show the motion. So the motion passes 5-2. I would like to make a secondary motion. I request the CRA attorney to I read that one. No, I would, it's because Commissioner Merker did not decide to resign. I would like to request that the CRA Board to censure Mr. Merker this evening as an expression of disapproval towards this type of behavior with two conditions. The first one, the condition I'm making a motion for, is that during the investigation, his supervisory authority of the Executive Director, Vivian Brooks, be terminated. I don't think he should be supervising her and having authority over her during this investigation. That's my motion.
Second that motion.
Comment?
I have a question for the attorney.
Discussion. You want to go on, Bob?
Yeah, I just have a question for the attorney. Is that within our power and purview?
Well, I don't think any of you actually have specifically supervisory authority as an individual over the director. You have obviously the right to seek information and that type of thing.
Well, she works for us. We hire or fire her. How can we not have supervisory authority?
No, as a board, you certainly do have supervisory authority.
And we tell her what we want done and what we don't want done.
Here's the difficulty, Mayor. If you tell her to do one thing and the vice mayor tells her to do the exact opposite, then what happens?
Well, that's why I'm asking the board to do this. And I'm not doing this personally. I'm asking the board to decide on this.
My question was, though, before we get into any kind of big discussion about that, is that even within the power of the board to limit the power of a city commissioner who's on this board through that position as to what he can and cannot do? I mean, outside of normal bounds of good conduct and appropriate business manner.
I believe the board would have the right to censure a person, and when you censure some, you can attach conditions. As I've read the definition of censure, you have the right to add conditions to that censure. That's the two I'm adding.
The question I have about that, we as a CRA board would be sanctioning another CRA board member, regardless of the fact that he is commissioner also. But the fact that he is a commissioner, it does not apply to that position. As a commissioner, he still would have the right, authority, whatever the word is, to talk with Vivian because he is an elected official of this city. And this board is not. Okay? So it just so happened that the way we are structured is that all five commissioners, as such, elected officials, are on this board. But as a CRA board, we cannot override, in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we cannot override what he can do as a commissioner.
Can I make it simple?
No, I want to hear what the attorney
Well, I
has
just
to
like
say.
to comment on the word supervise.
I would like to hear what the attorney has to say. Thank you.
I think a motion to censure in the context or with the meaning that it is expressing the disapproval of this board of conduct or actions of one of its board members. I don't know of anything that would prevent that. I think at this point, without having done an investigation with actual findings, to restrict Board Member Merker from doing what he feels necessary to obtain the information necessary to make the decisions that he needs to make is problematic. I guess maybe the part of the question is, what does the word supervise mean?
Thank you. Can I comment now, please?
When he finishes.
If what you are saying is that a protocol or a procedure that until this is concluded and we know everything, all the facts for sure, that Mr. Merker should not meet with Ms. Brooks without another individual present, something like that, then I think that's not inappropriate. I think that's fine.
Okay, may I now?
Yes.
Number one, I looked at Vivian Brooks as my supervisor. Why? She has more knowledge in the area. That's why I met with her. So all of a sudden I find out I'm the supervisor. It's hard to supervise when you don't run the business. That's how I look at things. As far as meeting with a third person, that was already established. That was the meeting we had. That was one of the requirements, prerequisites that was said with the four of us there. So that's obvious. It's a predicament for myself, of course, for Vivian Brooks, of course, for the city, of course. So it's, again, I use the word, it's common sense, that if I have questions of Vivian Brooks, in fact, just before, I'm repeating myself, I had a question on the agenda. I went over to Ken. I said, hey, Ken, can I ask Vivian a question? When I met with Vivian every week, it was by appointment. It wasn't David Merker walking in and saying, here I am. By the way, before someone says it, have I walked in without an appointment? Yeah. It might have been to talk to Susan or Mike or for whatever other reason. So, though it's technical and you're using the word supervisor, when I sit down with Lori's still here? Lori here? No? I meet with her every Monday morning at 11 a.m. I meet with, most of the time, Jim Sheriff, city attorney. I sit down with the finance. I sit down with Jeff Livergood. They have a perception of what's going on that because I'm not an engineer or a lawyer or whatever, I think I should hear what they have to say. So who's the supervisor? Well, the supervisor to me is the person who has more knowledge. And in this situation, Vivian Brooks. And again, just for the record, I was chastised, questioned, the relationship with myself and Vivian, that it hasn't been professional. Again, what I'm hoping, and I mean this, I'm hoping that who's ever hired sits down with all the staff of the CRA and asks them, how have I treated them? I think it'll be interesting unless the pressure is put on them because this is their livelihood. So the point I'm saying is I have a clear conscience, and not that I want an investigation, but I look forward to it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the, and I will let you address it here. Okay, go ahead.
Right. Let me go before you.
Sure.
Thank you. For the answer to Board Member Hayes' comments that he said about as an elected official, he has the right, he can go in and ask questions. This is what we get and the problems when we wear two hats. And sir, since this attorney will not answer a question, I answer for you. You are correct. Thank you.
I just, as the maker of the motion, I just want to add that I will go along with the attorney. The motion was to censure Merker on expression of disapproval towards this type of behavior, which he said was okay. He says we probably should not do the supervisory authority thing, so I'll drop that part of it. But he said it was okay to do that on a one-on-one meeting. Mr. Merker, CRA employees should be conducted with a third party present. That was okay. It was part of the motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know this is a tough subject. It's tough for everybody, and there's a lot of emotions involved in here. But I believe it would be the prudent and the just thing to do to not take any further action until the results of the investigation are in. I just think that that's. I just think that that's the best course of action.
I'm pretty much in agreement with Board Member Buchanan. We're setting up a policy for investigation. To me, at this point, essential would be a rush to judgment. We should let the investigation process play out. That's, I believe, the way things work. I agree that it will be awkward for CRA staff to work with Mr. Merker in the coming weeks, but everybody's an adult and it'll just have to work. And I think we should accept the city attorney's recommendation that some sort of workable policy be set up on how Mr. Merker interacts with CRA members.
I would concur with all of what he said.
Okay. So I assume that all right, well, we got to act on the motion was made and seconded. All in favor of the motion? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Show the motion fails 6-1.
Two.
Okay.
I'd like to make a secondary motion, or a motion.
6-2, by the way.
I'd like to move that the city attorney establish a set of guidelines on interactions between Commissioner Merker and the CRA staff for the near future.
Is there a second to that motion?
Is the city attorney our attorney for the board here? I need to know which one's going to be
Mean the
correct.
CRA attorney?
CRA attorney.
I'm living the past when Jim was both. The CRA attorneys for the CRA board establish a set of guidelines.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
A motion is a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
So the motion passes 6-1. Okay. Finally, moving on. Item was moved up, request for further direction from the CRA Board on the response to the Ocean Breeze East RFP from H.H. Boynton LLC.
Thank you, Chair. At our last meeting, the board voted to cease negotiations with H.H. Boynton LLC, and based on the fact that we did not have communication back and forth, Mr. Michael was out of town, and so we were not having communication back and forth, so we were not sure what was going on. And we had a meeting with their party Friday afternoon, and with Ken Spilius and myself and Mike Simon. And in the interest of time, the RFP directed that we come back with a development agreement February, or a draft one at least, in February. In the interest of time, we would like to have the ability to bring a development agreement to you in February for your look-see, a draft one, to at least do that part rather than go back out for RFP and go through that process. We think it would take more time, and we think that would be the most expeditious way to get the project done if it's possible at all.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Can I be clear that the thrust of the motion is to rescind the previous direction of cancellation of the RFP and going out to an RFP and continue negotiations with the proposer? Is that what was intended?
That's the intent, I believe, and
I just said it in fewer words.
and this satisfies the HHC group that had a problem with us not hearing their thing?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss, one of the problems that appears to me on this is that the valuation of the land that Hudson Holding is putting out there. I looked on Papa, and it's like under $500,000 for the land and under $400,000 for the buildings, for a total of roughly $900,000. And yet my understanding is when they put the deal together, the left hand of their company is selling the right hand it for $2 million. And to me, that's just a complete deal breaker. I mean, that way they get their profit up front, even if it goes under afterwards, they're free and clear. And I just don't understand. Well, I hope I may understand it, but I don't find that acceptable.
But we're only giving the staff the direction to negotiate.
Yeah, to bring it back to us, to more discussion, because I have questions too. I mean,
Yes.
as far as I'm sure, the letter I'm getting is Neighborhood Renaissance never said they dropped out of the partnership, so we need to have those questions when that is presented and get it all ironed out.
Correct.
See where we're going here. Okay? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Show the motion unanimous. Okay. That takes us to discussion of the options of Marina Village parking garage management.
Thank you, Mayor. This is obviously a very, very multifaceted issue. And I think one of the issues that we've found out going through this was the parking garage really doesn't address, number one, it's private. Number two, we really have no authority. Our parking spaces will stay public the ones we have in there that are assigned to us. We do not own them, but we don't have authority to say charge or don't charge. That is not within our legal rights. Secondly, there's really not enough parking in the garage. Even if we didn't charge, we're still short parking. That was very clear when we met with our marina tenants. What's really happening, what's taking up the spots in the garage are the employees. Most of the people that we would like to be using the parking spots are visitors, tourists, things like that, customers, because they're not really sure that they can park in there because it is a private condominium. And it's hard for anyone to know that, even though it has the universal public P sign there. And it is, again, let me reiterate, we never gave $1 to the Marina Village project. There is a rumor going around that we gave $1 million, but we never gave $1 to the project. So when I came away from that marina with our captain's meeting, I really realized what the issue is. There is not enough parking. Quite frankly, there's just not enough parking. Right now, our HOA fee for the right to own that waterfront parcel where the new ship store is $24,000 a year. And that gets us approximately 77 parking spaces in the garage. The right to them, not to own them. Now, what really we need is a lot more spaces than that. If we were to pay the maintenance of what it costs to ensure who was going in and out of that garage and all that, it would be another $60,000 a year. And that's not every day. That's not all year. That's only part of the time. That would bring it up to $84,000 a year in a private garage, which I do think is a little bit of a slippery slope, in my opinion. We then began talking to Mr. Camelier, who owns the former Bank of America site, because some of the people at our meeting suggested that. There are actually, we went out and counted, there's 200 spaces there. What we are suggesting, and we've had good conversations back and forth, that rather than throw money at what we know is not enough parking, let's get the 200 spaces, lease those from him on a shorter term basis until we can find an area for a public parking garage. We will take over the maintenance from him and take over the insurance and provide 200 free public spaces that will have signs with the marina logo on them at the corner of Ocean and Federal and the marina logo at Boynton and Federal. Much easier to find for the average person, the average customer who's going to be visiting. And I think that will help, because what we heard is we want free parking. It'll be free. And it's actually pretty centrally located. It's right off the bridge. It's right off Boynton Beach Boulevard, 95. And we think it's a win-win. And nothing's really going to happen there for the next 3 years, most likely. So that gives us time to look for another site for a public parking garage. I just think if we are spending $84,000 a year and not really solving the real problem, I don't think that's forward-looking thing that we need to be doing. So that is my recommendation on this issue, is that we don't try to manage the private garage.
Board Member Worker?
Yeah. What did you say it was going to cost to work out an arrangement with Camelar?
I have proposed to him $20,000 a year to lease those spaces. Plus, we do have to stripe some and clean it up, which is, we got a number today at about $40,000 one-time charge.
Fitzpatrick?
The Bank of America site is pretty much an eyesore, and I believe David Camilleri has not been, he could be subject to code violations for not keeping it up. In the future, I mean, if it's going to have a city sign on it, are we also going, in addition to paying him a fee for it, are we going to have to pay for maintenance, landscaping maintenance?
I actually put that in there to get a lower price because I think I want to maintain it to the standard that we normally maintain our properties to. In other words, get rid of the dead tree, trim the bushes the way we normally would do it.
I understand that. So is it 20,000 to him plus maintenance?
20,000 plus maintenance and insurance.
Any estimate of the maintenance and insurance costs?
Not yet, but I think really there's not a lot of maintenance there. It's just trimming. But once we could do the main cleaning of it, it's just trimming the hedges. I don't think there's a sprinkler system there anymore, unfortunately. So,
Chair?
Member Hay?
I would think that the insurance would be a very important piece of the puzzle, because that can be
Yes.
very expensive, and it could be a showstopper. So I think we need to have that before I could move ahead with this.
we have insurance on our parking lot now, which is, we don't, Susan's saying, no, don't ask me. I don't know. It's all bundled into probably a giant policy. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Susan Harris, Finance Director. The parking lots that we're working on now, the First Street parking lot and the Fourth Street parking lot, we don't pay additional insurance for that. It's part of the general liability insurance for the CRA in total. So I would guess based on that there would be no additional insurance cost.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Board member.
I'm going to offer a motion that this be tabled until we get that cost. I'm just saying additional and coming to us with stuff that's not fully acceptable. I'm just saying we need all prices before we vote upon it. We're spending citizens' money.
I second it.
There's a motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Show the motion fails.
Well, what I'd like to get is some direction from the board to move forward with this concept from you guys that I would, with David Camilleri.
Board Member Casella?
You said 77 spot? I thought it was like 122 we had in there.
It's actually, Mike went out with the hard drives the other day, the paving company, and they counted almost 200, 196, give or take.
No, he's talking about the
On
garage.
the B of A.
The garage.
He's talking about the
Oh, the
garage.
The garage.
122.
So it's not 70, so it's
122.
123. I've also been asking this question, I think I've asked you and I've asked the code department here for the city. To my knowledge, they got the top floor with 86 spots. Not that that's part of the equation here, but my question is, why are those spots still blocked off? When they did the calculation for load and people and how many for density, those spots all have to be, parking spaces all have to be figured into the density. Why are they allowed to block off a whole floor of parking and still have the density they have? That's my question, and no one seems to answer that.
They use a thing called urban land use shared parking calculations. However, when they use those, but urban land use shared parking calculations do not allow you to use the differentiation, the gate between the commercial and the residential, which we allow. And then they also don't calculate the developer holding parking spaces for sale, which we allow. So in my opinion, in my planning opinion, if you're going to use the shared parking calcs, you should not be allowing the gate and or the selling of the parking spaces. Those are privately held by Related, those spaces up there, which really the city can't. I don't know what the city can do. Honestly, I'm not a lawyer. I can't say. Maybe Ken knows. But those are being held by Related. They're trying to sell them to us, and I'm like, no.
So legally, they have that right to hold them out like that?
Legally, I believe they do, unless the city has some way to say no. But what happened is, in the height of the market, people only bought one parking spot, and there's 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units in there. And obviously, people have more than one car.
Mr. Chair?
Well, I just wanted to ask, so according to what I'm hearing from you is that if Marina Village tomorrow decides to start charging $5 a car, we can't do anything about it. We don't have any authority
Legally,
there to do that. So what we're trying to do is provide some other places to park for free. That's where I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, Buchanan.
my question simply is, obviously, it's going to take a little while to accomplish, and will will they be starting the charge in the garage immediately, or are they going to forestall it for a while we get our alternative parking arranged, or do you know?
There is actually parking available on Bank of America that's usable now, and I don't think we're real far away. We just have to bring an agreement back to the board. We could possibly have it back in February, that dots the i's, cross the t's. So if there's any, inconvenience, it won't be a long time if they implement this. If they do that, we could ask them to hold off on it as a courtesy to them, to our people. But there are actually parking spaces that are clean, ready to go now. So.
Okay.
Board Member Fitzpatrick.
All right.
Can you hear that from me?
The point you brought up, I think it was brought up before, but I just want to clarify that the people who live there and own only one space and have more than one car, that there's been a problem that they've been parking in public spaces.
Yes, they have.
And my understanding, the agreement or whatever, that the condo association was going to kick them out and monitor that. Is that correct? So that
They have been towing if they stay overnight. If they are overnight, they will tow them. They have been towing them.
What's the board's direction to the executive director? How do you want to pursue it?
I'd like to see this. I'd like to see us pursue the 200 spaces there and spend our money in that direction.
Okay. You want to make that a motion?
Yes.
I'll
that's my
second that
motion.
motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Show the motion passes 5-2. That takes us down to new business, item A, 2013-2014 CRA annual audit results.
Susan Harris, Finance Director. The board has before you the audited financial results for the year ending September 30th, 2014. I'm very pleased to tell you you have a CRA that is in very strong financial position. We have net assets of $13.8 million, meaning our assets exceed our liabilities by $13.8 million. We have 6 consecutive years of no audit findings. We have cash that is sufficient to meet our bond reserves, meet the ongoing projects that we have, our capital projects, and sufficient working capital. Our audit partner, Richie Tanduck, is here this evening to give his report to the board. And if it's okay with you, I'll have him come up to the podium.
I tell you, I've read the audit report, and I thought, I just want to congratulate staff. Susan, I think it's outstanding job once again.
something back in.
How many years in a row now with absolutely no, 6 years, I think it was?
6 years, yes.
Yeah, just fantastic. So
Yes.
I've read it. I just think it's outstanding, and I really don't need to hear any more.
Right.
Okay.
And
Okay. Congratulations.
I concur with the chair that Susan, you're the best. Just job well done.
She's awesome.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, board. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Item B, consideration
Excuse me, do we need a motion to accept that audit results, the report?
Yeah, we can do
Yeah,
that.
motion to accept the audit report. Thank you.
Second.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is unanimous. Consideration of transferring CRA property 137 West Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to the city as part of the model block project.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I do have some discussion on that. That's the same property I believe I inquired about. I saw some fix-up being made there the other day, and it concerned me to the impact of our project. But my understanding was that there was some code violation. No,
No, this
that's
one's
not property.
across the street.
Nope.
This
That's
is
across
north.
the street.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion unanimous. Item C, consideration of purchase offer to the school district of Palm Beach County for property located at 1204 First Street in the amount of $12,500 for the model block project.
That's Northeast First. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion?
Yes,
All-
I have a
Yes.
discussion. What was the price the CRA bought it for initially?
We didn't buy it.
Okay.
We're offering the school board. This is just a purchase offer letter to them to put on their agenda.
Thank you.
The appraised value, this is $12,500.
Yes,
And that's our top number for that parcel, right?
that's what we're
offering.
my understanding
That's
is
not-
they're willing to accept that.
Great.
That's our offer.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, so the motion unanimous. Item D, consideration of invitation to bid for reconstruction of city entry signage features. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion unanimous. Consideration of invitation to bid for the East Ocean Avenue lighting project. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second.
Mr.
Any
Chairman?
discussion?
We just did that. didn't we?
Very briefly, I just want to let you know that on both of these invitations to bids, we have revised the language to address the issue that we ran into with West Construction and the format, and have created kind of a template that we will be able to use going forward on all ITBs and just modifying them to the specifics. So we hope that we've resolved the kinds of issues that led to the dispute with West.
Thank you. That's great. Good news. I had a motion and a second. No discussion?
Discussion, Mike, are these going to be LED lights?
Yes, sir.
They are going to be.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're appropriate.
What was that?
Well, I say that because I don't have the specifications of the lights within the street light poles or to match the existing, and you can't retrofit the existing fixtures with the LED. So if I can provide clarification for that to the board in an email.
There's different, there's uplighting in the trees, those are LED.
Those are LED, yes.
But on the existing streetlights, they can't be retrofitted for LED, but we're adding new streetlights where there's Cobra heads, those will have LEDs, so.
Okay, so where it's applicable, we're going to put LED
Yes, sir.
lights.
Yes, and if you would like to know exactly which ones those are, I can send an email to the board.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
No other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So the motion unanimous. If there's no further business coming before the board, we stand adjourned.